I want to welcome everybody to the November Spark Talk. We've only had two this semester because we've been really busy at Eastern Kentucky University developing university-wide policies to govern the safe use of AI in the workplace and to talk to our faculty about what type of AI policies need to be included in their course syllabi, and also to go back and amend our academic integrity policy with an eye towards AI concerns. So we've had some limited programming this semester, but this is our second and final Spark Talk. My name is Lisa Blue, and I am the Director of Artificial Intelligence Strategies here at EKU. And when it comes to Gen AI, it seems universal that people either feel excitement about the possibilities or dread about the unknown or the repeated infractions with AI that they're dealing with their students on a regular basis. My job and the whole point of these talks is to try and replace that dread with curiosity while giving you strategies you can put into immediate practice. I want you guys to walk away from the Spark Talk inspired with new ideas and feeling competent and capable of implementing them in your own classrooms. Each month, we trade tips, stories, and strategies for bringing AI into teaching, research, and service. The goal is to make your work easier, to prepare our students for an AI-enhanced workplace, and to do it all in a way that's thoughtful, ethical, and responsible. Today, I'm pleased to feature the work of Dr. Emily Zuccaro. She is an associate professor from the newly rebranded School of Education here at EKU. And Emily, I cannot wait to hear about redesigning assessment AI portfolios in teacher education.
Thanks, Lisa. Hi, everybody. I'm Emily, and I'll be talking about what I've been trying on in my classroom. Importantly, I just like to disclose my experience using AI. This is my second year in trying to adopt, revise, reflect, observe AI practices with my pre-service teachers. I teach a children's lit class at the teacher preparation program at EKU. And so I am in my second year, and so I'm taking more intentional steps to looking at my curriculum and my assessment pieces and that sort of thing. But before I continue, I want to go over today's agenda. We're going to do some reflecting, looking at some course structures I've put into my class, looking at what AI portfolios really are in the context of my class. I have some examples from my course, and then a discussion if we have time at the end. So to start off, I would like us to pause and ponder about how might AI help us rethink what counts as meaningful assessment. And I'd like for you to write something down because we're going to return to it at the end of this discussion. I'll give you about 2 minutes to write down your answers to how do you think we can rethink, how can we rethink about meaningful assessment with AI?
If you're so inclined, feel free to drop those in the chat.
Please.
I see Ella's already dropped one. Thank you, Ella.
Great. About 1 minute left.
Being critical thinking is a theme here.
Mm-hmm.
Scott cheated and used Gemini. I'm kidding. It's not cheating. It's all good.
Is it cheating?
No, not at all. I just came out of a meeting where someone was very down on AI, and it was supposed to be a lit review of AI capabilities. And I'm like, okay, can we talk about the positives here? We need some balance.
About 10 more seconds, and then we're going to just move on. If you can make sure you have something recorded, we can return to it. I'm hoping to have discussion at the end. I prefer to have discussion at the end. All right, so we're gonna just think about what we've written down initially and then return to this at the end of the discussion. So I just wanted to briefly go over the core structures that I've adopted over time. I have been doing this since fall of 2024. So this is the third time I've been doing this in my class in terms of adopting course structures, of course, tweaking them and revising them, but I've done this 3 times now in the context of my children's lit class. It's a class only for undergraduate elementary education majors. And the first thing I have included is a syllabus statement. And I've kind of borrowed, copied and pasted from that running Google document that we had. I think it's, Lisa, please help me, who was the owner of that Google document?
You asked, and now I don't remember. Was it Lance Eaton?
It's
It was
someone,
probably
it's like so long and it's just like all these different AI policies. It's
that's
ongoing. It's
that's
oh,
Lance Eaton.
yes, yes, thank you. And so basically I read over all these course syllabus policies and I was like, what really aligns to my beliefs and my values, what I'm willing to try out. So I have this in my syllabus for children's lit, and I've bolded the things that I think are really important, thinking about, I explicitly state at the beginning, we are going to use AI tools. So kind of announcing the elephant, beast in the room, whatever you want to call it. We are going to use AI tools in this class. And doing so aligns with course objectives on information resources, technology, and tools. And then um, really stating my belief that AI in education is a critical topic for pre-service teachers who have to navigate ongoing changes in the educational landscape initiated by digital technologies like AI. Teachers always have to be in step, in pace, or ahead of all the things happening in the world with education and the trends and issues. And so it's really important to think about how we prepare our teachers to lead classrooms and teach students in this environment. Also, in my syllabus statement, I have how we make a class agreement with students. So students make a student charter of some kind on how we use AI tools. I also included kind of like a caution about using AI programs that, sometimes they're inaccurate, incomplete, sometimes problematic, and that something I repeat over and over again, my students hear it like 24/7 from me, is that we don't want to stifle our own independent thinking and creativity by relying on AI programs. And then ultimately not passing off any work by AI as your own. So it should be documented and it should be disclosed and how it was used in submitting your work. I see Shannon's in this chat, by the way. Hi, Shannon. Um, I adopted this from Northern Kentucky University. They have this beautiful stoplight system. So basically, the idea is alongside my syllabus statement, I have the stoplight system, and I refer to this whenever I assign classwork or assignments in my class where they have to have a red light, yellow light, or green light. And so red light, as noted here, is it's absolutely not permitted. And if you use it, it violates the class policy. Yellow light is that it's limited and here's how we're going to try to use it. And green light is use it or even required, and you must document on how you used it. These are my class agreements for this semester. Totally student driven. I gave them examples that I had seen online, and I asked them to examine statements, beliefs that they thought were important to put into our agreement. So they identified things that they thought were important, and then we made, depending on how big the class was, this class is 28 students, so we had 6 agreements to vote from. They vote on the one they want to adopt, and then we adopt and revisit this agreement throughout the whole semester. I love this agreement because they put this top kind of like mission statement. How AI can help we learn if we use it responsibly, and so on and so forth. And then some important considerations for the agreement about, the kinds of things we can use it for, brainstorming, outlining. We're not going to break the rules. I'll ask my teacher if I'm unsure. I will make sure that I will respect the work of others, so academic integrity, and then they have a consequence about reduced grade on assignment and mandatory resubmission. Then they receive a 0 if there's no resubmission. So that's one class. I teach 2 sections. Second class, sorry, Lisa, go ahead.
Oh, fine. We have an excellent question from Kareem. He asked, how are you able to determine if the student has used AI when it is not permitted? Do you use specific AI detection tools?
Um, to be honest, it's really the nature of the assignment. So like the assignment requires students to have a personal response to it. There is some sort of design element where the students lived experience, or they especially because it's a children's lit class, they might bring a picture book to class to do something with it. It's extremely personalized in that. And we do a lot of things in class that are, red light, for example. I want them to use their analytical thinking, for example. So what they turn in has been designed that it has to show their like personalization to the assignment. It's not like a multiple choice or like something where they could just it has to reflect like the book they choose or that kind of thing.
So it's kind of AI proof in that way.
Yeah. And of
Awesome.
course, I want to say like not everything is totally AI proof. Someone could hypothetically pull it up on their phone and that sort of thing. But I do
Certainly.
notice that when there are these red light assignments, Um, I don't see it as much. And I will say, I do believe that the structures I've put into place really make the classroom more likely to be honest and more upfront. And as I show later, a lot of students actually have strong feelings about using AI all the time. So they don't actually want to use AI in certain assignments, and they want to use their own responses and that sort of thing.
Excellent. We had one other question. Beth Ann would like to know if the agreement is class level or by individual students.
This is class level. So like this is like my 2 o'clock section, for example. Um this is so every student in my section have to abide by this kind of thing.
Perfect. Thank you.
So this one's a little different. They have the rules, but they've broken down the consequences by the type of stoplight assessment. So red light, yellow light, green light assignment. So they have actually like further broken it down to if someone violates a red light assignment, here's what happens, yellow light, green light, which I think is really interesting. And no class has really broken it down by like the stoplight system before. Usually it's like a broad consequence of some kind. And it was intentional that they designed the consequence. So like they buy into it and so it doesn't really feel like top down. It really feels like we've generated this whole classroom sort of thing. And I will say, since it's my third time, I feel better talking about it. The first semester was super awkward, like crickets chirping, no one's talking about AI. And I feel more confident in bringing it up in my classes. And I feel like this semester has been really, really productive in actually talking about AI and understanding the times, the places, the context in which we use it. These are just examples of what I do in my class. And this is kind of pre-AI assessment portfolio sort of thing. So we do a lot of reading. It's a literature class. We do responses to reading from professional textbooks, articles, novels, picture books. It might be a traditional essay response reading, graphic organizer, that sort of thing. We do analysis work to picture books. We have a learning resource center at EKU, which is like amazing Chef's Kiss Beautiful collection of picture books that we spend time in, and they do analysis work with that. Um, in general, increasing our knowledge of titles, authors, genres, awards, ideas related to picture books, planning with picture books as future elementary teachers, and reflections about the need for, windows and mirrors, um, culturally diverse literature, the right to read, um, choice in reading, all kinds of things. So that's kind of setting up what my class is like. And so basically, up to this semester, I did the student charters, the student agreements, the stoplight system, and I played with one assignment in my class, which I'll explain in a second here. But basically, I only did like one assignment. So this year, I decided to kind of jump in and make more tweaks to my curriculum and how I could be more intentional about putting AI in my curriculum and thinking with my students about AI. Lisa, do you have a
That's
question?
another fantastic question.
Go ahead.
Um, how do you mitigate, let's see, do you mitigate how AI interferes with the reading experience? Do you read in class?
We do read in class.
Hmm?
Um, I one of the assignments is to read 8 to 10 picture books a week. And that's simply because the nature of being a child, like when we're children, we read picture books and then our reading interests grow with us. And when they become classroom teachers, they haven't been reading picture books for a long time. So I require them to read more contemporary titles and that sort of thing. So, and there's engagements that like there are engagements that I plan that help me understand what they're reading and how they're making sense of it and that sort of thing. So, but it's very obvious that students are reading, especially because of all the engagements that we're doing and that sort of thing, and the way that I'm designing like analytical work, um, the way that we're engaging with texts in different ways, like an author lens, a genre lens, a book award lens, that sort of thing. So we do a lot of things, and so. There are in-class readings, outside class readings. I try to do a lot of in-class stuff because I feel like in a picture book class, that's where the it's generative, it's productive, and so it's really beneficial to actually do it in class a lot more.
All right, and we've got another question here. Mary did a similar activity and she wondered if other students believe in indefinite second chances when it comes to violations of AI policy. She had a student who kept always asking for second chances.
Oh, I haven't really encountered that yet. Um, I don't know. That's a really good question. I have observed in especially my classes this semester that I actually have a lot of students this semester who are not up to using AI. It's remarkable to me because I started this again last fall, so fall of 24. And I have observed actually almost like a reluctance to using AI more. And so therefore a lot of what the documentation I'm seeing is a lot of students are not using it as often as previous sections have. I don't know if that's just a fluke for my students, a general commentary on students as they go through AI, like slap on the wrist, never use it kind of thing. So I don't know.
I'm seeing it more and more too across both our university, but with other universities that I interact with, to the point that I'm actually doing an AI session at the Teaching Professor Conference in December on students refusing to use AI and all the reasons they submit, because I've seen some pretty intense reasoning with peer-reviewed research articles to back them
Mhm.
up. So they're really digging in their heels this semester.
Yeah, it's been interesting.
And others in the comments are saying that they've felt this shift as well.
Yeah, I feel like in fall of 24, there was a lot of almost like eagerness to using. A lot of us was really eager
Mhm.
and also very green in using it. So whatever they submitted, it was like Chat GPT over and over and over again. Their prompts needed help. And I think there's this kind of like this like learning curve. It's been around now long enough and people talked about it enough that they know how to use it more, but also they're becoming more particular about how they use it. And I don't know.
Yes,
That's what I'm kind of observing in my time with them. So,
yes. Awesome. All right. Thank you for that.
okay. No, I love this. I want to be able to talk as we're going through this. So, okay. So basically, this is my way of using AI portfolios with my pre-service teachers. It's my assessment methods with my pre-service teachers, not necessarily how they'll use it with their K through 12 students or K through 5 students. So this is how I'm doing it with my pre-service teachers. I feel, and I've observed that a lot of um, just for also from the students who tell me that a lot of students are being told they can never use AI, they shouldn't use AI, they're going to get in trouble if they use AI. They're never really asked to do it in a way that reveals their thinking or what they know about AI. So I've been really trying hard to give them a space to reveal how they know how to use AI, in what moments they use AI, what moments they choose not to use AI, and what does it do for their learning. So that's where these AI portfolios come in to play. I did some professional reading over the summer, and so that Teaching with AI book really helped me think about that. And so thinking about how I want my students to be able to talk about AI and create this environment. And so this is a step further in my process. So AI portfolios are this digital collection of student work that uses AI tools to support more meaningful assessment, feedback, reflection, organization, and turning assessment into a process instead of a single graded event. So that was something that I'm moving towards in my children's lit class. These were the directions I gave my students. So here I explained how you will engage in multiple experiences in exploring children's literature. So these are already designed engagements in my class. Alongside these tasks, you explore the role of artificial intelligence in teaching and learning. You will compile a collection of work that illustrates how AI and human capabilities can collaboratively enhance your learning and future literature selection and reading response strategies. The goal is not only to showcase your assignments, but demonstrate your thinking about AI as a pedagogical partner. So, still having my children's literature curriculum, but alongside selecting particular experiences that would be utilizing AI and how people kind of toggle between an AI capability or a human capability, and in what way, for what reason, and what happens as a result to that assignment.
We have a quick question. Everybody wants to know what you read over the summer.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't have it with me. Well, it's called Teaching with AI by Jose.
Antonio Bowen. Okay, that's what I
Yes.
thought.
I also
Got
read the AI playbook by Frey and Fisher. Um, yes, yes.
I got it. I'll drop links.
Sorry.
No, that's
I
all
should have known that
good.
when I mentioned what I read something, I should have had the link ready. I I truly enjoyed the Teaching with AI book. And that's to me, the Teaching with AI book is not just like teaching specific, it's like field preparation specific. So it's not just like teacher preparation. The AI playbook feels more teacher preparation focused. So if you're in teacher prep, I think that book would also help you. But I think Teaching with AI is like for any field, like nursing or business, whatever. It's just like preparing people for their field they're about to enter.
Did you read one by Eddie Watson?
Mm, Teaching with, I think Eddie Watson is the Eddie
Is
Watson
that
is
the
the
one with
second author on Teaching with AI. So it's Jose Bowen and Eddie
co-author?
Watson.
Okay, very good.
Yes. Okay, so my students get these directions, and then basically, because I'm a literacy and language professor, I really believe in the power of like writing and reflecting. So I chose in my AI portfolio three assignments that they would use AI and use this sort of structure to turn in as like a bundle of in their AI portfolio. So basically, what they do at the beginning is a quick write, and I'll show you what that means in a second with a prompt. They do the assignment with documentation, then they complete a reflection with another prompt. So the quick write is, and the one pager is an assignment I'll explain here in a second. But basically, a quick write is like a timed sit down idea brain dump into a document until the time goes off. So I usually set a timer for 5 minutes and I give the students a prompt and they basically have to just like random stream of consciousness right until the timer is up. And sometimes they can even say, I don't know what to write. So they just basically they keep writing. And so this is a prompt I gave them about one of the assignments is consider the objectives, the skills, and any challenges you anticipate. How could AI tools help you? What specific aspects could AI help with, and how might enhance your efficiency or understanding? So that was done before they did the assignment. They all did a quick write about this assignment. Then they do the assignment and then they fill out the reflection. So once they filled out their reflection, they reflect on what they initially thought the task would require and what they actually encountered, how their understanding evolved through the process, in what ways could AI support or enhance their efforts, unexpected challenges or benefits, and that sort of thing. There was not really a length requirement to this. I really did not want to specify like in what way they would need to do this, but I wanted them to just reflect on, you thought this back in the quick write, this slide right here, and then you did the assignment. Now think about what actually happened when you started to do the assignment. So the good stuff, assessment examples. So there are three assessment example types. So the first one is a one pager. So we read 5 novels over the course of a semester, and I ask them to do a one pager, which is a visual reading response to the novel. There's specific guidelines to meet. So, for example, like quotes, definitions, connections, recommendations, lots of things that students personalize and they connect with as they do their one pager. Here you'll see on the left side, we read the novel Violets Are Blue. Someone did it by hand, so they did it like on their tablet or a piece of paper. And this one's Maisie Chen's Last Chance. This one did it by, I think they use Canva. So they have to have a border, quotes, connections, that sort of thing, images that kind of stood out to them. And it's a really popular assignment. Students really feel good about using it. And so these are some of their reflections um, after they did the assignment with AI and they reflected on the use of AI. So here someone is saying that they used AI to help her create a layout for her one pager and that it helped her organize her thoughts, declutter the assignment, create images. She was thinking deeply before she started the assignment, and then about the images she wanted to use. And then once she chose images, she described it in depth, what she wanted the image to look like. And the ChatGPT made it so fast. So lots of thinking here and how she used AI. She's thinking about creating a layout, organizing her thoughts, creating images. She was exercising um, kind of or displaying her knowledge about how she had to describe the image in depth, so you kind of have to give the prompt, the input to AI really particularly for the image to look the way you want it to, for AI. Lisa, how are we doing on questions? Do you have questions you want to answer? Okay. Um, the other ones were that she did the assignment without using AI, but then she put the assignment and the description guidelines into ChatGPT and asked if her draft met the requirements of the assignment, which I thought was really smart, and gave her a bulleted list of everything that was correct. So that was really unique, and I've heard students talk about how they do the assignment totally on their own. Then they give it to an AI platform with like the rubric or the assignment description, and the AI machine platform helps them understand maybe there's a gap, maybe there's something that out of sequence, whatever it is, there's something that ChatGPT or whatever AI platform they use can help them meet the requirements of the assignment. And I think that was a really smart way of doing that. And then reflecting these students who really don't always want to use AI. These are statements from students who said, I did not use, and this is interesting. They're always calling it ChatGPT. They're always, instead of saying AI, a lot of students just name ChatGPT as the one platform over and over again, which I still think reveals uh, a new user experience about AI. They're always going to ChatGPT sort of thing. So, but I think these are really interesting. This first student is saying, I am not against it. It wouldn't help me on this assignment. The one pager was really personal, and so I did not use it. And then a second student kind of echoes that. I knew it wouldn't have the personal connection that I have with this novel. And I love reading that as a teacher of literature, is that these students are saying, a machine can't help me make an assignment that reflects my personal connection to this novel. And that's what I like about the reading responses, that there are aesthetic, visual responses about how people are meaning making with the novel. And this last um, one of many I saw, students were saying, I do not prefer to use AI because it's drilled into my head that it's bad. So she said that she might try it next time. I'm not comfortable using AI, but I do want to become more comfortable. So I think that was something that was also pretty prominent in these reflections.
We have I don't know if it's a question or if we're just pondering here. Matt asked, I wonder if AI could help with feedback if we uploaded the submissions and the assignments.
Um, I don't see why it couldn't help with
Mm-hmm.
feedback. I mean, obviously with like safety and confidentiality, but I definitely think there'd be a way um to see. I think, and to ask earlier about like kind of fortifying assignments against the use of AI, this was a green light assignment. So
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, you know what, use it however you please, just document it. And you'll notice that some students use it for like, they choose vocabulary words with definitions, or they image generate. And I have noticed we've had in the past where two components of the one pagers are a personal connection and a recommendation for why someone would want to read it. And I find those are the places where I can tell if it's the student or an AI machine, because
Sure.
recommending a book for somebody is extremely personal. Like,
It
my
is.
mom would love this book because of A, B, and C, or my best friend is a big fan of whatever, and then connections wise sort of thing. And I have had incidences where I'm like, you copied and pasted directly from an AI machine. Let's talk about how you can revise it, or at least, disclose that you used it for your connection kind of thing. And also, it took away from your own personal connection, meaning making to use AI sort of
We've
thing.
got two comments with that. Patrick notes, I have worked with using AI for feedback, have had some success. I do not include identifiable personal information, which is
Hmm.
good. We don't want to
Yep.
violate FERPA. Karen says, please don't upload work that includes personally identifiable information, student name, student number, etc., to any Gen AI tool. And Dr. Wilson from the College of Business did a conference paper on AI for grading. She found it wasn't as thorough as a human and was too lenient. That's a whole other conversation for another day. But I do want to go back. I know. I do want to go back and grab two other questions. Beth says, I really like the one pager example. Did you have to give any consideration to accessibility for this assignment?
Um, in what way exactly?
Beth, do you want to come off mute?
Thank you so much for taking my question. You've just
Yes.
got me thinking about lots of things that I might try. And I guess I was thinking about, students who may have some sort of accessibility accommodation, like a visual
Yeah.
accommodation. How did you maybe factor that in when you were creating the instructions for the assignment?
Yeah. So, I try to make it as for me, the open-endedness of the assignment. So some people did it like by hand, some people did it on like Canva, for example. And then some students asked if they could like record something too. So there was, I think, making it more like multimodal, allow people to access it in a different way, that sort of thing. Um, I hadn't had like, students give me accommodations letters at the beginning of the semester, and I haven't encountered any difficulties so far. But I did want to make it like as multimodal and as accessible in terms of like they chose the platform, the way they could make meaning. Some students really felt artistically inclined. And so I have two students who are beautiful with their one pagers and they do it totally by hand. Very jealous. And then I have students who feel really adept at using Canva and they use it in a way that, demonstrates their learning. And some people are very text heavy, some people are very image heavy. And so not limiting that in that respect, and mostly just having a list of guidelines that need to be on their one pager, I think helped, if that's helpful for your question.
Fantastic. We have one other question, and this is not a question I have seen before, but this just kind of reflects where we are at in the whole AI in higher education. Did students ask about privacy issues?
No, they have not. Honestly, the one time that we've talked about this was like putting identifying information into chatbots or to any AI platform, and at the beginning with the student agreement sort of thing. So, but that privacy never really came up.
Perfect. All right. Forge ahead. We're doing great.
I love this. Um, so after collecting all of their reflections, there were some themes that kind of came through, and I also made some initial observations here about students in their reflections talked about how AI use should be documented, mostly from like a morality ethics standpoint. Like they need to be, we need to be telling people we're using AI. AI should not be something students over rely on. Don't stifle their own thinking. That's my language from the syllabus. So I've been indoctrinating them this whole semester being like, don't let it stifle your own thinking. So it's obvious that they're thinking about, but also too, like in ways that I did not anticipate, they're making choices not to use it too. So even when I'm like, you can use it, they're like, we don't want to. So, and when using AI, descriptive and specific prompts are needed for best results. And so, and I have seen that evolve over time with my students that the more they're using AI, their prompts are changing, becoming more specific, and that sort of thing. These are all from students' reflections. So AI can be helpful for organizing thoughts and ideas, providing a professional language, generating ideas or brainstorming, visuals, grammar, definitions, formatting, feedback, accuracy, finding quotes, lengthening or shortening an assignment from a class. So this is all student reflection on how AI could be helpful. And at the end of it all, this helps me understand what students know about AI. And we talk about it all the time in my class that, and they just told me this last week because we're talking about the end of the semester and a final AI reflection we're doing. And they were saying that I'm one of the few people who actually teach them how to use it or put them into assignments and that sort of thing. And actually asking them what they know because you can't really do anything if you never ask students what they know. And that's the whole point of being a teacher is you have to understand where your students are at. And it's not just with children's literature, right? Like that's like the aim and the scope of my purpose with my students, but they're living in a world where AI exists and they need to be given an avenue to express what they know. And so the one pagers were one example of how they were using AI in really precise, particular ways and saying, I'll use it this way, but not in this way, or I don't want to use it at all. The next one, the next assignment is Goodreads midterm. So we use an app called Goodreads. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with that app, but basically it's almost like a social media app for logging books. And so I require my students to download the app, make an account, and then they have to keep track of the books they read every semester. That goes back to what I said about reading 8 to 10 picture books every week. They would log it onto their Goodreads account with, a rating and then maybe a 1 to 2 sentence description of how they're using the book or what they thought of the book and that sort of thing. So by the end of the semester, if we're in class for 15 weeks and they've read 10 books a week, they've read 150 picture books this semester, right? So at midterm, we do a check-in. And so I had them do an activity with their Goodreads list, and I offered an AI extra credit opportunity. And I asked them if they wanted to use AI, this was a yellow light, and it could only be used for these extra credit questions. You could give your Goodreads list to an AI platform, identifying patterns for what you've read so far, and setting goals for the second half of the semester. Lisa, your face is really funny right now. Are you reacting to the chat?
I'm sorry. I'm all excited here because I didn't know Storygraph lets you do quarter and half star ratings.
Oh, I knew Storygraph. Yes, I know Storygraph.
I can't play poker, obviously.
So,
Sorry.
no, it's okay. So basically, And this is the thing too, because I had anticipated there was kind of a lukewarm response to using AI with the one-pagers. So I wasn't really sure who would take me up on the AI extra credit for Goodreads. And I was pleasantly surprised by a lot of students actually using the extra credit. So I um so I'm submitting here. These are screenshots from students who gave their Goodreads book list to an AI platform and gave it prompts for the Goodreads extra credit. So you can see here at the top, she asked, can you create me some goals for the second half of my semester in a children's lit class? Goals that deal with book selection, picking, and activities that go along with the books, which by the way, go along with the course learning objectives. Like the book selection is one of the things I want them to become better at. So she already is telling the AI platform, ChatGPT, in the sense that she wants her goals to align with one of the objectives in the class, book selection. It was beautiful. So I can already tell that she's understanding that the whole point of this activity is to have a better repertoire and a better collection of things for book selecting in her class. And so ChatGPT gives her some goals here in terms of book selection and variety and purposeful book pairing and thematic connections. Other examples, this is a pattern list that got generated. So this AI platform helped her identify what patterns were in her reading list. And then the suggested book recommendations were provided. But you can see like she has I Walk with Vanessa, um, identity, self-acceptance, and uniqueness in here. She has some perseverance, growth, and learning from mistakes, family, community relationships. So a lot of things are presented themselves in her reading list as well. This student, her prompt is really specific. I'm doing an assignment over my Goodreads list of books. I would attach a link to my reading list, identify patterns, and help me set goals for the upcoming semester in this class. Now, funny enough, the first pattern that ChatGPT recognizes is that a strong preference for picture books or children's books. So yeah, that's exactly right. It's a children's lit class. So good job, ChatGPT. And then secondly, focus on classroom usable discussion friendly themes. Also good. Like this is all right on the mark. And then you can see, you can't really see at the bottom, but like identity is also a very prominent theme. This continues for themes of identity, inclusion, empathy, and diversity. And my favorite is a bias towards recent or published children's books. So this tells me that this student is using the Goodreads list in the best way possible because I asked them to read contemporary children's literature. Oftentimes, students go back to classic literature, not a bad thing at all. Like that's the first thing I always say. It's not bad. It's nostalgic. It's what connects us to our childhood, like Where the Wild Things Are, Eric Carle, all those kinds of things. But there are so many rich stories that are currently being published that deserve attention as well. So I can tell by her submission that she's reading more contemporary titles and that she has a moderate range of complexity and depth, and that the ChatGPT gives her examples for how to pursue um, or there's gaps in her areas. And note, classical literature is a gap on her Goodreads list, which is good because we don't want it to be only for classical literature, but also maybe some opportunities for growth, you know, graphic novels, folklore, more diverse culture, language, and global authors, so on and so forth. This student submitted a prompt that was a little less specific, so the output was different. So she asked about, you know, I need to set goals for the second half of the semester. What are some goals that I can do? And she really addressed to follow the quota of 8 to 10 picture books. So she's really addressing like the load of reading 8 to 10 books, not necessarily what she's reading. So ChatGPT gave her reading goals, you know, plan to read 2 to 3 books every day instead of all 8 to 10 at once. Diversify, use a reading log. She already does the Goodreads. So this prompt really revealed, this example reveals how the prompt kind of determines what the output is. It was more about how to read the 8 to 10, not what to read every week. This is her reflection from that. So balancing the reading load, I'll choose a different book genre, illustrator, cultural perspective. I'll set up a reading plan, which by the way, this is not bad. It's just it's showing how the input and the output get determined. So she's talking about how to handle the reading load, not necessarily how to have like diversity in her reading or what she's missing or that sort of thing. Sorry, this will be hard to see, but basically this is another student who submitted screenshots, and she has what her list says about her as a reader and an educator. And one thing here is she's critical but fair. So she's not giving every book 5 stars. She's trusting her instincts and not letting popularity sway her opinion. So that's kind of exercising some criticality when it comes to giving book reviews. And then this one here is her prompt. So based on my book list, could you set goals for the second half of the semester to help me improve my future classroom library? Also revealing course learning outcomes. And then she has examples here. And here are some missing or underrepresented genres: fantasy, STEM, nonfiction, poetry, graphic novel, that sort of thing, which are actually very common gaps. Another one here, analyzing, this is the prompt she gave ChatGPT: analyze patterns in my Goodreads list for Library 301 based on genres, themes, and cultural representation. Help me set goals for the second half of the semester that align with course outcomes. So she gave ChatGPT a sentence that include, make sure my goals align with course outcomes. Remarkable. That's so amazing to me. And again, they didn't receive any guidance from me on this. They literally just said, I just said to them, this is a yellow light assignment. Here's extra credit. Another, I think this is one of the last examples, was her goals were to broaden genre diversity, expand global and cultural representation, and include poetry and verse text. So you can see a lot of the similar patterns and how students can really maybe pivot or increase their like diversity in text in terms of what they're reading for the second half of the semester. Are there any questions right now before I continue to the last one? Okay. So this last one, Lisa actually helped me with this, was a chatbot called Professor Zuccaro Book Talk, which feels kind of like X-Men-y, like naming something after myself. But basically, another assignment we do in my class is a book talk, which is a short sales pitch for a book. And they have to stand in front of the class. So it's kind of like an oral presentation. They stand in front of the class in a very short time, and they have to deliver the sales pitch for why students want to read this book. So Lisa basically made me a chatbot that acts as a coach to students in doing their chatbot book talk sort of thing. So they have to create a script, and that's already embedded in the assignment. They do 2 a semester, and they have to submit a script. And this semester, I required students, they had to use the chatbot for their second book talk. So the first book talk was really hands-off, like really no AI influence. The second book talk was mandatory. They had to interact with the chatbot. So this is what it looks like when there's basically a landing page and you press one of the buttons and it says, here's my first draft. They have to come to the book talk chatbot with a draft already. So they can't write it for them. They already have to have a script. And so you can see here that like the introduction is, you've come prepared. I'm Professor Zuccaro, and I'm going to help you deliver a crisp, persuasive, spoiler-free 1 to 2 minute talk on children's picture books. And you can see the 6 headings are the requirements of a book talk already. So I asked my students to do introduction, details, plot teaser, characters, connections, and closing. I also make sure that when they do a book selection for a book talk, that I consider book talks to be kind of a way to reveal a hidden gem of a book. Like you may not find this, you might not immediately read this book, but you might really like it. And then, do you think your students or future classmates would want to read this book? So basically, they have to copy and paste their draft and then answer those 2 questions. Do you think students would know this book? And do you think students would like to read this book? So I have a lot of students who've submitted their book talks and submitted screenshots. And so this is what the chatbot looks like as they walk through a conversation. And so this chatbot is helping, right now, Professor Zuccaro chatbot is helping with the plot teaser. And the student responds back to rewriting the plot teaser in her own words with a kind of curiosity gap. There's feedback at the bottom: clean, balanced, spoiler safe. And then this is really interesting. there is pushback on the chatbot, which I really appreciate. So you can see the chatbot coach it moves through each section. So introduction, book details, plot, characters, connection, and closing. And so, but this student is saying, I like the hook I used before because the chatbot's kind of moving her towards a different chatbot or a different hook. And so this student's like, I don't want to change my hook, but I do like some adjustment. So they kind of go back and forth with, here's what I like, and then the chatbot responds to what the student has submitted. And then you can see over here with the colorful version of Panther, the Professor Zuccaro chatbot asks, do you want Panther to be quiet, thoughtful, or do you want lonely, different, and uncertain? And then the student says, I don't like those. I don't want either of those. So the chatbot responds accordingly. Let's change how the Panther sounds. And then some feedback here, and the student says, I like it. So that they've kind of like negotiated this description of the character in a way that that the student feels good with. And then again, more accepting of what the chatbot's offering. So the chatbot says, do you want your closing to land inspiring or comforting, reassuring? And so she likes the comforting, reassuring. There's no pushback there. She accepts one of the offerings the chatbot has offered. This is another example. Now, sometimes students don't take screenshots. They literally copy and paste the entire conversation and put it on a Microsoft Word document. That's why it says, you said, the book talk coach said, sort of thing. So this student goes back and forth with, is this plot teaser better? So they've done some revision to their plot teaser before. And then, is this better? And then there's some tiny trims, introduction revised. So there's a lot of back and forth negotiation and feedback on what the student can say and what the chatbot's saying back to them to make this book talk. This is kind of the end, some performance prep and feedback, really cool, some surgical fixes, like pausing for effect after the hook. If you bring a prompt or a prop, like a book or this says a plush monkey kind of thing. So, it's a children's lit class. So that sort of thing. And then interestingly enough, there was some really productive feedback on the chatbot. So this student actually found that the chatbot was limiting her thinking and trying to shorten the length of the assignment instead of deepening her takeaways from the story, and that trying to find the right fit of what the chatbot spit out versus what she wanted her assignment. I think that goes back to the negotiation of like the tone, the content of the draft, and that sort of thing. And she does end with the chatbot helped her organize her thoughts into the format. So moving forward, that would be kind of a way to tweak the chatbot to maybe focus more on the deepening of the draft and the book talk instead of just focusing on like the 1 to 2 minute delivery sort of thing.
We do have one question. Shannon
Yeah.
wanted to know if you've used School AI at all for this kind of chatbot work. She asked because all interactions are saved back for the professor to see later.
I don't really use School AI, but I'm not against it. I just this was my first foray into using a chatbot.
And Laura's with us today. Laura, I'm so glad you're here. She says, I feel seen by this student. The one time I tried to prompt in School AI, I was so annoyed by it. Perhaps it would have been helpful for students, but it was really off-putting for me. Laura, we've talked also about, how do we want to tweak this chatbot for future semesters? Do we want to work on this chatbot so that it does help deepen the understanding, but then also stays within the limitations of this very short format for the book talk? We want the book talk to be just a few minutes of presentation time in the classroom. So great point there.
And interesting enough, when I introduced the book talk chatbot, my students were really into it before they had used it because they were like, oh, it's a version of you I can ask help for. So we were talking about how, I could like deploy the chatbot as a tutor for these book talks. And instead of emailing me, they could just pull up the chatbot and start going back and forth with it. So they did express an enthusiasm for the idea of a chatbot that could help them with an assignment and how focused it was. It wasn't like submitting this to a regular LLM and then you just get like out of, whatever the LLM knows about book talks gets put into this conversation. It was specifically designed for a book talk. So the rubric, the guidelines, everything was there. It was so focused on a book talk, you know? So I think that's important too, is they liked how, and maybe now they realize maybe it's too narrow, maybe it is a little restricting. And so that's good, but that's good feedback for me to think about how to make the chatbot a little less rigid and more responsive to the content they're, inputting and that sort of thing. And
Emily,
then,
you've got so much great information, but we only have about 5 minutes left.
yes,
So you
I'm
want
going
to
to
give us
speed through this slide and we're going to talk. So basically, the shifts in my assessment go from product-based to process-based. So really thinking about not just submitting the end product, but how they were doing it throughout the entire process of their assignment. Iterations of their assignment. So a lot of times students went back to revise, tweak sort of thing using AI or not. A lot of these portfolios revealed student decision making, which I think was the whole reason for understanding AI or human capability was like, in what moments do you employ, not employ, tweak, go back, whatever, and asking students to actually reveal that, reflections, quick writes, that sort of thing. This also helped me put more digital AI literacy into assignments. As previously noted, I did it with only like one assignment. I was more purposeful in assignments moving forward to have more assignments using AI. Um, I had goal setting in my class, but using this AI portfolio helped me do even more goal setting because AI could help us do more goal setting. And I had reflective opportunities, but there was even more reflection embedded into this class and it was reflecting on our process, not reflecting on like curriculum per se, but the actual process of completing the assignment. And now we're back to the beginning, and I'd love to talk about how might AI help us rethink what counts as meaningful assessment, or any thoughts about anything.
opened it wide open there.
Yep, yep.
So any questions or comments you'd like to share, feel free to just come on off mute, or if you want to drop it in the chat, I'd read it for you.
I actually have a quick question, and I've been teaching with AI for like the last year and a half now, and I'm really like revisiting the way I go about doing it because I'm seeing students really struggle in terms of learning loss.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I mean, we spend so much time talking about what this machine is, what it can and can't do. I love how you talk about the yellow, green, and red, but I'm like thinking like how to apply that, maybe even just like in terms of its functionality too, not just in terms of policy. But anyways, I'm just curious. Do you see, as you see yourself revising this course, like do you see more AI integration happening? Do you see a little bit less happening? Because I'm kind of finding that, well, like there's certain skills, threshold concepts that I think students need, even just to be able to adequately use the AI, certain literacy skills that need to be taught before they can use the AI. I was hoping that the practice would teach them both the AI and those literacy skills, but I'm not seeing that so much with most students. But I'm just kind of curious your experience. You see yourself adding more, or you see yourself kind of maybe doing a little less?
Um, I see myself doing a little more while removing some things as well. Like I think I might not do one of the assignments I did this semester, next semester as a portfolio, or try something else. I am struck by the reluctance to use AI, and not in a negative way, but it's just really fascinating to me that like in the 3 semesters I've really like purposefully put stuff in my class. This semester, when I'm actually putting a lot in my class, people are like, whoa, wait a second. Like, and so that's interesting to me. And I wonder if there's maybe this pendulum swing of now that the technology is out, people are actually approaching it differently or that sort of thing. But I do know that I will continue to do like the stoplight system, the student agreements. And to me, the functionality of a stoplight system can only be done if I'm actually like creating an environment where we can talk about AI. And to me, that's half the battle is actually having a classroom where we say, I'm open about AI. We're going to talk about AI. You're not in trouble for using AI. Let's talk about it because I think half the time it's a very surveillance um, punitive environment. And I think half the battle we have now is to create an environment where you can actually just talk about it, and then explore the functionality of how to do the assignments and that sort of thing.
Have to agree with you. And we're working right now to get some basic AI literacy modules into our Intro to University courses. And I hope that that will help with a lot of these issues that we're encountering. And with that, we are at time. So Emily, thank you for sharing your time and expertise. Her contact information is there as well as her LinkedIn contact information. I will be sending out a link to the recording, a copy of all the links supplied during the presentation, and Emily has agreed to share her slides with us. I do have a couple of requests for prompts from her assignments, and we'll talk about those afterwards, and we'll send all this goodness out within about 24 hours. So thank you all for your time and attention, and we hope to see you at future EKU AI programming.